Hi, I'm Steve.
And I'm Marcus.
And welcome to
Lost in Telford.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Lost in Telford, and we are in the middle of Stafford Park at the moment and we're looking at this little footbridge here. Now it's been lost to the midst of time, but it originally gave access to the agricultural land south of the railway. And it's just been abandoned, but it's still there, a little bit of hidden infrastructure. Let's take a closer look. You can see as I changed the map, you can see that the whole area was agricultural originally, and the new modern industrial estate has literally swamped it and almost made it insignificant.
What I love about these industrial estates are all these beautiful oak trees that are just hidden around. So here we are, that's that bridge we were looking at. As you can see, it's absolutely, completely abandoned now. I don't even think we'll even be able to walk onto it. But it just goes to show that in the midst of time, things just get completely forgotten about and overgrown. So this is truly a lost bridge. Maybe a farmer used it to get to his field. Hi, it's Steve and Marcus again, and welcome to Lost in Telford. And today we're actually looking for something that looks like it's a hell of a lot older than our modern kind of buildings. We're looking for a moat. Now we know the moat doesn't exist because it's on the site of the building that's in front of us, but also looks like there's two sort of fishing pools to the side of it. Now we don't know what the moat's for, but what we do want to find is the two little fishing pools. So where are we, Marcus?
At Stafford Park.
Yeah, we're on Stafford Park Industrial Estate. Who'd have think you'd find things like this here? Anyway, let's go and have a little investigate.
In a quiet corner of Stafford Park, there is the remains of the old moat, which dates from the medieval times, from about 1400 to 1450. And this is an illustration of what it would have looked like. There isn't much remaining except a little bit of the fishing pool around the outside. A complete tile was actually found, and that is in the Rowley House Museum in Shrewsbury.
So this is the location we're at. You can see Sapphire House there, and Sapphire House was the site of the moat. It was originally there. So as we pan around, we've got this building here. We're expecting the fishing pool to be at the back of here or parked by their yard. So straight away we've found one of the fishing pools now.
This also could have been the moat around the settlement itself.
It's hard to think, Marcus, isn't it, that a few minutes ago we were looking at this on a map. What do you think about it?
Yeah, it's quite a tranquil place, hidden away in Stafford Park. You can see it as people haven't been around here for a little bit.
We don't exactly know what these pools were used for, but we know that was a moat on the site of Sapphire House. Maybe it was connected to that. Maybe there was a big house here originally. We may never know.
Now let's see where the moat is. And just behind me is the site of the moat.
So we don't know much about the moat. All we know is on the Ordnance Survey map it's located on here, but it stands right here on the site of Sapphire House.
Our next location takes us to almost to the entrance of Stafford Park, and a lot of people don't realise that Stafford Park got its name after the Stafford Colliery, which was on the site of most of where Stafford Park is built. So one of the jobs we're going to do now is we're going to try and locate the railway that ran from the main line into Stafford Colliery.
Here we are at Stafford Park, and we are actually on the route of Dark Lane. Now, Dark Lane was not just known for one of the main roads through Telford, it's also known for its mine, which is behind me. The car park you see ahead is the site of the old Dark Lane Colliery.
So let's get our bearings of exactly where we are. Now, we are in Stafford Park and we're actually standing on this bridge looking over to this car park, which is the VW dealership. And this particular area here is, a lot of this is mostly mining, ex-mining land. But we're actually looking at this particular ribbon of greenery that runs through Stafford Park. You can see it there. And if we go to the transparency little button there, you can actually see that right where that car park was, there's actually the site of Dark Lane Colliery, which is there. You can see the two shafts there, but you can also see the old mineral railway coming in and following that line of greenery all the way down. So we're going to see if we can actually plot our way down there. But first we're going to look at Dark Lane Colliery.
This footpath was originally a mineral railway and connected up the Stafford Colliery. Before the embankment was here, the mineral railway crossed the site and headed off over in that direction. It's worth noting that Dark Lane actually was responsible for one of the worst Shropshire pit disasters. Although it's a car park now, but it's actually a grave. And it's such a shame that these poor guys that lost their lives aren't remembered somehow.
Dark Lane Colliery, the 29th of December 1862. Dark Lane Colliery was owned by the Lido Company, and it was known as the Cage Pit or the Flies Pit. At 5:40 a.m, the second cage of the number 1 shaft was loaded with 9 men and 3 boys. The cage started its descent to the bottom of the pit, some 900 foot down, when the cage separated from the winding rope, sending 12 men and boys to their death. This incident was the largest loss of life in Shropshire mining. During the construction of the dealership in 2011, they actually found the original shafts and recapped them. Now let's pay tribute to the 8 men that lost their lives on that fateful day. John Guy, aged 45, married with no children. Benjamin Simpson, aged 40, married with 1 child. William Baker, aged 35, married with 2 children. Samuel Jones, aged 40, married with 5 children. William Faraday, aged 37, married with 6 children. John Bailey, aged 32, was already a widower with 3 children. William Rushton, aged 30, married with 3 children. Thomas Tonks, aged 30, married with 2 children. William Holyhead, aged 40, married with 5 children. James Smith, aged 18. John Brown, aged 15. Samuel Parton, aged 14. So when you drive past the VW dealership next time, just give these guys a thought. So next, let's start our search for the Stafford Colliery.
As you can see in this hollow, this is the route of the mineral railway to Dark Lane Colliery and Stafford Colliery. The tree line there really establishes the route of the tramway. You can see the Mineral Railway down in the cutting here. So the Mineral Railway now meets the footpath. The footpath generally follows it in the right direction. You can see the embankment there that ran alongside the Mineral Railway. Behind me is the location of a small row of cottages.
So if we go back to the map, what you can see is you can see actually where the cottages were. There was only a small row of them, and you can see the line of trees of where the original route went, and you can see here the expanse of the area and what we're actually covering. So there's a little bit more detail on the cottages there. It may look like there's 3 cottages there, but with a sort of haphazard track to it.
So here we'd have the cottages right in front of us here. I really do sort of feel the old sort of Stafford Park here, these old lanes. But the Mineral Railway comes to here, it goes straight over there, and we're heading towards Stafford Colliery. You can see again we have the route of the Mineral Railway, and we've got this lovely hedge line to the right of me and a slight embankment to the left of me. So what we have got here, we've got some really mature trees around here, look.
You can really see that TDC planting encroaching on these old trees. And now we've found this, a lovely old gatepost.
Look at this old nail that's here. I mean, this is a lovely old oak thing. It's quite loose. What a nice find. So the point on the map that I'm on states that there was a crossing here over the railway, and you would have crossed from here to here. So I would imagine that post is one of the crossing gates that took you across this Mineral Railway.
So let's get our bearings. So we've walked from this point here, where this is the position of the cottages. We've walked down, and you can see we're actually within a cutting, if you like. And it comes down, and then we come to this part here where this footpath or track clearly crosses. Now, with this being a railway line of some kind, there would have been gates on here, and I think this is exactly what we found. So if I put the overlay back, you can just about see where we are. We're actually just in this little area here. So we haven't walked far from the cottages. We're just coming, and you can just see the outline of what we've got to follow. So that's exactly where we are now. So it's quite interesting. So but if we come out and we look at where that track goes, it must just look after these fields that are here, look, along here. So they're all just farmers' fields, these are, which are accessed by this track. As we continue the journey, you can see the low area to the right hand side. Now we've got a barbed wire fence here, which must be an old boundary fence, which is the base of the railway. We can see now we're walking in the actual cutting of the railway itself, and you can see that's quite well defined.
You can also see here's a big gate hinge here, look, you can see maybe that come off that gate. But you're starting to pick up a lot of stony rubble and stuff like that now in this railway, but it's actually such a defined sort of hedge line there. I think we've come to a clear point in the route now where it's impassable, but you can see these hawthorn bushes here, but this looks like as far as we can go on the undisturbed section of the Mineral Railway. So this looks like we've got more modern planting here, so we'll just sort of get through that, because there's definitely a distinct difference in height between here and the top section. So let's see if we can see any telltale marks. So first of all, hidden in this in this sort of area here. We've got this beautiful old oak tree.
So we're just going to use the drone to retrace our steps somewhat now, and you can see this little section here that we're coming into. You can sort of see how wooded this little area is here. So it clearly shows the line of the Mimra Railway, and it's actually been sort of disguised. So we're sort of just coming up now to where Stafford Colliery actually was, and you can see that row of trees in the background beyond the factory. That's where we are, and we're sort of now down in the ditch, which is to the right, so that thin sliver that you can see here.
Again, we've got more mature trees here. Again, we've got another beautiful oak tree here. These are just hidden away here. These mighty trees. So what we have got here are some railway sleeper markers here. I can see we've got a clear line there of the hedgerow coming in, and that tree is on that. So, I mean, that is beautiful. It's huge. So we've got another oak tree just there, and it is down in the bank there, the Mimra Railway. So we're on top of the bank now looking up. So you can see there's a bit of rubble here. But what's interesting is we've hit this sort of clearing in the trees now. So on the map it states that there's a sort of ridge and a ribbon of trees running down here as we go into Stafford Colliery. We definitely have this clear distinction between the younger trees and the older trees. I generally feel like I'm in a forest. It's very, very strange. All these mature trees here. We've got daffodils coming up. This is more like a glade. So what I've found now is what looks like a disused watercourse or something. So, looking ahead, we have the site of Stafford Colliery. The rail lines would go straight over and over that way.
Stafford Colliery was located off the Wolverhampton Road, and it mainly mined out coal and ironstone. It got the name Stafford Colliery from the person that owned the land, which was Lord Stafford. Numbered 1 and 2, the pit was opened by the Lilleshall Company and the first sank the first shaft in 1862. Now let's get some vital statistics. Now, shafts number 1 and 2 were 8 foot in diameter and 709 feet deep. Shafts 3 and 4 were the same in diameter but 745 metres deep. The underground roadways were up to 2.87 miles. The pit had 2 loft-style engine houses. One had a cage and the other had a skip. And the coal was taken from the double coal seam, which is 6 foot 2 inches in depth. The mine employed in its heyday 230 people. The pit was connected up underground to the other Lilleshall Company mines in the immediate area. But the mine itself closed for business in 1928. So let's get our bearings where we are now. So you can see this ribbon of trees here, and we've got this contoured bank, so that's saying that that ground is higher and this is lower. So we're here just sort of in this kind of area here, overlooking the colliery. That's in our sort of view there. So if I take the map back, okay, you can just see, if I just give you a little bit more clarity, we're just on this corner here where the cursor is. We've come out of the ditch and we've come up to here. So this is actually a natural, original sort of woodland boundary here. And the sidings now are just on the corner at this little bit, this sort of building here. But as we're looking across, we can actually see the colliery buildings sandwiched between this part here. If we change that a little bit more, you can just see between that factory there, that is where it is. So we're actually going to carry on down here along that tree line, and then we're just going to get out of the area across the front of this area here. Now if we actually look at this photograph here, we get a little bit more clarity about what's going on. Now you can see the railway coming in here. You can see all of the trucks there stacked up into the colliery itself. You can see the access here, which is off the Wolverhampton Road. And you can see this sort of hedge line running across here. Now it looks like when the railway was put in, it's actually interrupted that and they've cut it out. But you can actually see the original boundary, the original field boundary going off along here, as you can see. So that's actually where we are. We're actually down in that area at the moment. But it's quite interesting just seeing the fields and everything there. And obviously you can see that track as well where we found the gatepost there. You can just see that and that access into that field there. So it really does show up what's actually originally here.
So looking ahead, this is that old tree line that's on the right hand side, and also you can see down there, it looks like originally there would have been an old brook running through it, or a watercourse of some kind. Maybe when they built the mine they cut it off and used the water in the mine. But there's a little bit of rubble around here, nice little rubble pile here. Not off the modern estate because it's quite old. So we've definitely now found the corner of the site here, and there's a couple of oak trees here. So we are really in the thick of Stafford Colliery now. So we've now found this other sort of old drainage ditch here, which might have actually been where the mine was originally. But they've been planted, it's been planted out with some modern equivalents by the looks of it. Looking at, you can actually see one of the new oak trees there that's been planted against the fence line there. And then clearly you've got that brook running through the middle. The spoil tip for Stafford Colliery pretty much goes from here forward. If we actually pan around, this would have been the hive of industrial activity. So there you have it, the site of Stafford Colliery. The railway itself came out just here at the corner of where the DHL side is over there, and actually came down the road here and just carried on and filtered out into some sidings.
Next up, we're going to discover the location of this very quaint farm. This was actually known as Lee's Farm, and it sits just at the top of Stafford Park. So we're at the end of Stafford Park 7, which is up this neck of the woods here. Look, you can just see Stafford Park 7 coming up here, and it's in parallel with the motorway as well. So how to get to Stafford Park 7? Well, you basically come down and you would have the VW dealership here. You turn a left there, follow it straight up, and it comes up this sort of way here. Now this is the area in particular we're interested in. The buildings here, we've got the original CJ Pierce offices there. But if we actually transfer the image over to one of the older images, you'll notice that this building comes up here. And this here is known as Lee's Farm. Now, in conjunction to where we are, you can see Dark Lane coming up here, and then there's a little track that leads you into that farm off Dark Lane. But also you can see running from the farm is our track here, which took us over the Mineral Railway. And so you can sort of see this typical farm layout here, quite typical of those farms, almost like an enclosure if you like. This is Lee's Farm. As you can see, you can just see it within the photograph now. Now, Lee's Farm included a lot of additional houses, and it was home to Cliff and his brother Jeff, and their wives lived with them. So this is a small community based around the farm and included a square at Priors Lake and a house called East View. The demolition of the area started between 1957 and 1958, and most of the residents of this small cluster community were rehoused in the nearby Freeston Avenue and Snedshill areas.
Next up, in Lost in Telford, we're looking for Ned Farm in Nedge Hill.
Behind me is the site of Ned Farm. Now it's home to this big factory in the I-54 development area here, like a little bit of a business park, industrial estate type thing that it is. Anyway, right up on the hill there was Ned Farm, which gives the name to the roundabout with the pointy spire called Ned Roundabout.
So this is basically the area here, which is the I-54 sort of campus at Nedge Hill, so it's called. So you can see this area has been developed. You've got these huge big units here, and just where that pin is dropped, that was the exact site of Ned Farm. So if I come out now, take the map straight over, you can see the location of Ned Farm, not to be confused with Nedge Farm. So you can see we've got Ned Lane running down here. Then if you look at it now, we go back in, you can see there's the roundabout with the spire on it. And if we look a little bit more closely, what I'm trying to do is trying to find this lane that runs down here. There's nothing left of the farm, unfortunately. But if I want to try and find this lane here that ran down, it ran right the way down to the railway, and then it crossed there. There's a signal post there, and it accessed this area here with these fields here. So it looked like just a track to the railway, or it could have been a farm track as well. But if we look at actually its route that it takes, you can see there's a wooded area here going down here, and then it disappears into here. So let's just see if we can find where it went.
So I'm standing at the Nedge Hill Business Park now, and behind me is the location of Ned Farm, which is obviously what it got its name after. But there was actually a trackway, or a trackway across the other side of the railway from here. So the track ran from the farm, which is up on the hill, across this way here, which just goes down the bank there towards the railway line. So that was one of the entrances into the farm, but it also might have been to access further fields that the farm would have owned. So let's go in, have a look. So straight away you can actually see this avenue that runs down here. We've got this beautiful oak tree here that's sitting here. Look, you can see that at the side. There's quite a big one, and the road goes down the sort of slope, and you can see the hedges are really defined here as well on either side. So would they have been accessing the fields around here via this road? But as we look over, because the ground level's been changed so much, then you can actually see that all of that has changed up there, and the factory is right up on the top.
As we start to walk down, you can see the amazing hawthorn hedges that are to the sort of right hand side here, that created this field boundary between the two fields either side of this lane. And I can imagine this lane was quite steep in its time.
So you can see here we've got another mighty oak tree here. I mean, that is huge. Look at it, it's beautiful. It's got a bit of a split down the side of it, so it doesn't look like it's in the best condition. You can see the remnants of an old field boundary there by the posts there that sort of been nailed to the side of the tree. And what's really nice is it looks like someone's had a tree swing here at some point. Now I don't know about you, but to me this looks like quite hard to follow here. It is absolutely overgrown completely. There's a lot of soil here. It looks actually like a raised section. It looks like deep brambles, but it actually isn't. So let's see how far we can go down. So we still got we still got the hedgerow there, look, but this is special here. Now we don't know whether it drops down anymore. We're quite away from the road, you see. However, the ground level does drop down there. I'm still up on the ridge. Now when you're greeted with brambles that big, I think it's time to retreat slightly. Now to get down to Stafford Park, I pretty much think it's fair to say that the ground level would have to drop quite a bit to get down to the railway. So I think this bank that's here is the slope down towards the railway, but we've obviously got the road in. We've got another oak tree here which I'll try and get us to. So there we go, the other oak tree along the edge here. So we are on a boundary here because we have got a fence here, and we've definitely got a dip in the ground, look, and that goes up. So what they say, what goes up must come down. So here we are at the bottom of the lane. So you can see we've got that nice oak tree there, and over here we have the A464. So all of the rest of that has been built on with factories. So it would be interesting to think if the bit by the railway is still there, which we will go and have a look at. I'm now standing where the actual track from the Nedge Hill farm, where we've just looked at, comes down. So I'm in the industrial estate, so it just cuts just across the corner of this building.
Okay, let's return back to the map now. So we're around about here. So this is the lane that's coming from Ned Farm, and you can see it looks like a substantial road once it gets down to here. Now if we change the map over, because we're not too far away from the railway, so let's transfer the map over, and you can see the corner of the building, the Viola building, which is there, and you can see, as I've said, it just sort of curves around and then heads at the side of this building here, and then it crosses the railway there, and it just looks like a footpath there of some kind. I'm not sure it'd be used for a tractor to access these fields, but it looks like a footpath. But there's definitely a signal post there when we actually change it back, look. So, you know, that's quite a long lane in the grand scale of things.
So almost walking straight on now, we are on that track. So the road, it looks like the made up road has stopped, and we're now on what's just a trackway. So that could have been a tarmac road, and this is just a trackway. But you can obviously see the railway line now right in front of us. And it doesn't actually state whether there was a level crossing here, a little crossing here, or it was a small bridge underneath. It's really hard to fathom that out, to be honest with you, but we'll have a little look of what we've got here. So where the corner of the building comes in, this is the railway line here. So I can't really see much really here that really stands out. So I'm standing up where roughly the crossing would have been, and it looks, to be honest with you, we were a bit high up here. So I don't know whether there was a set of steps that went down and you crossed the railway that way, but there's a bit of like woodwork here, etc. Just here, and I am exactly on that point of the crossing. And if we look around, we can look across and we can actually see up on the bank there the site of the Nedge farm. So they were actually within viewing distance of each other. So here we can see a few little bits and pieces here. There's a bit of a bolt. and there's just a little bit of debris in here. So I really don't know. It's a really hard one. Unless the embankment on the railway's been slightly changed and raised up. It has got young saplings on it, so that is a strong possibility. So one thing it does tell me is the crossing was actually where the signal box platform is there. I think it's classed as a signal post or something in the map. But actually, has this ground been built up? Has this ground been built up and there's actually a bridge underneath it? Because that is a really good possibility. I think judging from the evidence, it's clear that this ground has been completely built up and there would have been a small bridge underneath or a subway underneath the factory area there into the fields behind. So it actually does go to show that the Ned farm did extend past the railway.
While we're in the immediate vicinity, I thought it'd be good if we actually had a look at an archaeological record. And this is from the bottom by Ned Roundabout. And this is the construction of a dam. Well, they found it while they were doing archaeology. The construction of a dam and a leat. And a leat is basically something that is an open water course to a mill. So we thought that's worth a little bit of investigating. So let's get our bearings again. Now, we're looking at this particular area here, which is just off Ned Lane. Now we can see that we've got water courses running in. You can see the arrow there as a direction of water. And then that water is transferred in this open channel and then it is dammed into this pool here. Now, on this picture here, this is a fairly marshed up pool, but this water has been managed and collected. So then what it does is leaves this little pool here, then comes down. Obviously it would be slightly higher, so there'll be a little bit more direction on the water. The water comes down through Bliffbury, then underneath the railway, and then it heads right the way over towards Horton Hall and the fish pond at Horton Hall. So it's actually designed to top the water up at the fish pond, but also the corn mill here at Horton, that's actually supplying water from that, and all of the water's carefully managed all around the particular area to direct that water back in. But if we actually go back to our location and we take another look at this and we change the map, what you can actually see is that this particular area here is now the site of the I think it was the Capgemini building, Office International, when it was built. But you can see here what's interesting here is that the water course takes a curve around there. And now it's been cut off and severed by the road that runs down there, the small bypass there. What it's actually done is created a pond here, and created a pond where it's been dammed off. But the water course, it'd be interesting to see whether the water course is still there, but that's for another day. But for historical interest, there was actually a dam built here, an elite. This is the elite here, to do that. So it's amazing. I mean, it doesn't really say how old it is, but it's amazing to think that that water of this area was managed by whoever owned Horton Hall at the time.
So here's another awkward one here, and we are in Stafford Park, and we're in a plantation of conifers, which is sort of between Joseph Ash, the galvanisers, and the old Tatung factory, which is now, I think it's called Northwood, a distribution company. The reason why I've come here is because in it shows on the map that this woodland had a track through it, and it was quite a grand walkway or entrance over towards Tag's Rough, which, as you know, we've done in the previous video. So I just wondered, coming into this bit of a forest, this bit of a hidden gem, whether I'm able to find anything left of the old pathway or anything. So I'm going to turn you around and you can have a look.
So first we'll just get our bearings now. So we are sort of just here. Now this is the entrance to what was the rear of Tatung or Northwood. You can see there's a little sort of cottage on that corner. But this is a look, it looks like a tree-lined avenue. So it was the entrance to something originally. And there's a sort of raised area there as well. So whether that climbed up a bit of a hill, it comes along. And then the path splits off and heads sort of down here towards where the moat is. So that might have been a bit of a feature. But here on the corner, there's a few fishing pools. So maybe that's where people like to come and sit there and what have you. But the interesting bit is here is it comes out of Stafford Park. And we'll try and pick this little bit up here later on. But this lovely tree-lined avenue here that takes you to Knoll Bank. It's a little bit strange for my liking. And the fishing pools here, which is, I'm of the opinion that potentially there would have been some sort of maybe stately home or large property or something here, or it could have been originally the entrance to Bliffbury. So Bliffbury is here, and you can see that actually the only entrance into Bliffbury, there's that looks like the road into Bliffbury, and then the other entrance into there. So maybe Bliffbury was a little bit bigger than we thought, because obviously they're managing their water supply, etc. So that could be a potential estate here, the Bliffbury estate. But if we put the old map back over, the new map I mean, you can see where I'm sort of talking about now. You can actually see this piece of woodland that runs along here, and you can see that there's another dwelling along there, but then this part there's absolutely nothing left of it, or so we might think. Here, this little pond area here, that's been obviously taken away completely, but actually the road to Bliffbury, very interestingly, if you actually look on this corner, the road used to go straight on. So I think it was originally a grand entrance to Bliffbury, because you can actually just see that, and the road has just been chopped up here and there and everywhere. So let's get into the woods and have a proper look around, see what we can find. Now I did find this picture, so it shows that particular trackway or entrance is actually it's still there, an original. You can see the crop of trees running in that sort of ribbon across there. Now obviously they've piled more soil up there from time to time and obviously replanted it out with the conifers, but it just goes to show that there's an original route running across there, and you can see some of those bigger trees there.
So unfortunately this doesn't go for long really, because it's literally cut off. It goes off to the right and then just gets eaten by the factory. So this is the only bit of this that's left, and you would actually be able to come across from Stafford Colliery and actually walk along this sort of through this sort of glen of trees, which is quite unusual. But you can see these trees are absolutely huge. Just look at them, towering above me, and you wouldn't even notice they're here. But is there any remnants of that footpath that used to run here? So let's have a little sort of look through, and I'll tell you something, nobody's been in here in a long time. This is what you call, forgotten. So at the moment, there's a lot of trees that have fallen down. It pretty much looks like it's had to fend for itself. As we come through, there's a lot of rubbish in here, but I think that's pretty much come from the factories. But I am just looking for the remnants of the footpath, you see. And like I say, it's only a short section, and you can see the end of it now because they've actually planted out. They've actually planted this out with a newer planting scheme. I'm just reversing back because there's a hell of a thorn here. Look at this one. These are the brutal ones. Look. Okay, let's get him down. There we go. I'm free to pass. Okay. There we go. Here we are. So it does look like that this actually carried on right the way on originally, but you can see here that plantation, look. There's been a nice pathway through there leading on, so let's just carry on a little bit. Okay, I don't even know whose ground we're even in now, but this is all modern day planting. And we've got a bit of a fence here. Look, we've got a bit of a boundary fence there. Look, and on here. So now this looks a lot older now. These trees here look a lot older. So I still think we probably see we've got barbed wire yet again. I still think we're probably in this area. So we'll just. You can actually see now we'll come into some sort of hedge line now here. Look, you can see it's starting to really sort of establish itself now. We're just going to go up here a little bit just so we can pop over the barbed wire. We're definitely in an older bit of the forest now. This is what I was hoping. So we've actually got a really sort of large sort of escarpment of trees, if you like. So you've got an oak here. It's like I say, we've got this barbed wire here. I don't know what that sign says. This is probably the more older side of it. And like I say, there's definitely older trees here, look. But I would expect by now the forest to start tapering off to the right hand side. But there's definitely this barbed wire fence. I'm not sure what it is. Is that the boundary? Now the location we're in now states that there was a small house here and a well up on this larger sort of section area, the wider section. It doesn't look very big, but it widened out along there a little bit. So what we've got is down here, as you can see, we've got a little bit of bricks and rubble here, haven't we? So potentially this is where the house would have been. Now this is definitely planted saplings, these are. I think our pathway goes over to the right now. So you can see truly exactly where the hedge ends. So I'd imagine there was a much older forest here and they've just replaced it with the modern sort of conifers. We're actually walking down the old A464 and this was the road that took you into Shifnal, and that's the sort of direction that I'm heading in. Over there, up on the bank where the factories are, that's where we're hoping to find our track that would come out.
So let's get our bearings again on the map. So we are actually now walking down this particular road here, which is the A464 Shifnal Road. As I've mentioned, there's the factory, which is up on the bank there, and you can see the track running through the main part there. Now, if I just fade that back a little bit, you can actually just see that the area here is it leaves Stafford Park. There's a sort of avenue of trees there, but that avenue of trees would have gone all the way through to the other side of the road, to the Ned Lane. So what I want to try and do is find this little bit here and hope it's not been removed when they built the dual carriageway. Maybe we can find an old hedge line of some kind. So let's look at this image. This is a little bit earlier, and you can see that the trackway is completely wooded all the way through there. And then here, if you study this picture, this is from 1999, you can see the track and it fades out, but there's definitely something here. You can see where the track came across.
So we are on top of the Noise Mound now. We're sort of between a couple of fences here, and this will sort of take us along now over towards our location. You can see you've got a lot of these posts here where trees would have been planted, and they've just literally gone. Got a lovely cluster of old drainage pipes here, look. So this looks like a potential location now for our crossing. We've got a slightly built up area here. We've got some older type shrubbery here, look, you can see. And we've got a nice big telegraph pole here, look. So I am pretty much certain this would be our crossing point here for definite. It's a definite difference in the ground level, and as I say, we've got a lot of ivy growing up the trees here, totally different from any other part around here. So I think this is where our pathway would have crossed, and it crossed over and went into the field across the road. So here we can definitely see the old hedge line now. Look at it running up there. It's absolutely amazing when we're finding things like this, and it may only be a little bit, but we've traced this track right the way across Stafford Park. So there we have it, where old meets new.
Well, I just want to end this video, this trip down memory lane, by looking at these amazing signboards. These have been hidden away on the side of the M54, and it's the reminiscent of the Come to Telford era, a campaign during the early 2000s to get people to come to Telford, and this ghost sign is hidden away by the trees from public gaze. A real piece of history. Thank you for subscribing, thank you for watching, and hopefully see you on the next video.